something about wet hair that is not appealing to me. She is throwing up all over herself and it's just not cute. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to be decluttering my bronzers. Some of them I'm getting rid of just because they are super old and expired. Some of the products just don't work for me personally or don't suit my preferences, and if that is the case, then I am going to be passing them along to friends and family or people that I know will get better use out of it than I am. Nothing will be going to waste. If you enjoy declutter videos, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and let's go ahead and get into the spring cleaning declutter. So I'm just gonna pull randomly. I'm not gonna go in any specific order. Let's just start with something that I know I'm definitely gonna be keeping. The Colourpop Super Shock Bronzer. This is one of my favorite cream bronzer formulas. If I could get it open. This one is in the shade Get Sandy, and I don't know if you can tell, but I have definitely made a big dent in this, and I haven't even had it that long. That's how much I love it. Also, excuse my terrible nails, I'm so sorry. I'm giving them a break because I feel like I've been painting them too much lately and they're just peeling and getting really brittle and thin, so I just think they need a little TLC, a little break from all the polish, and I'm just gonna let them breathe a bit. So sorry if that grosses you out, but anyway, back to the bronzer. This is a really nice cream to powder formula, so if you're not super comfortable with creams, I would recommend maybe trying this one because it's super lightweight, it dries down to more of that powdery finish, and it's just really easy to work with. So definitely gonna be keeping this. This is like one of my all-time favorite bronzers. Something I know I'm going to be getting rid of is this contour palette from e.l.f. This was actually sort of the impetus for this entire video because I saw this in my drawer the other day and I was like, wait a minute, how old is this? I know this has been sitting in my drawer for at least 2 years, and I did get really good use out of it for a while. Like you can see, this shade I definitely dug into quite a bit, but I don't know, this looks weird. Like it might be just some of this brown tone cream mixed in, but it's sort of like balling up in the most strange way. I don't know, it just looks really creepy to me. So I think I'm gonna get rid of this because creams don't usually last as long as powders, and I just don't feel comfortable putting that on my face anymore. Another keep is this L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It Bronzer. I have mine in the shade Light. My packaging broke, but I don't care because I love the product inside so much. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but this powder is so creamy and smooth. I love the tone of this bronzer because it's a little bit more neutral or even cool tone than a lot of other bronzers in my collection, and it just gives the most gorgeous sheen. It's not glittery or sparkly, but it just looks so healthy on the skin. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on camera, but it's really gorgeous. So I actually have 3 colors in the Warm Wishes bronzer sticks from Rare Beauty. I do love the formula of these. They're pretty pigmented, blend out easily, they stay put a long time, and they do dry down so they don't slip and slide. But a couple of these shades are a bit too warm, so let me just swatch them really quick and I'll show you the undertones. These are the 3 shades swatched. This is Happy Soul, Power Boost, Bright Side, and actually now that I'm looking at them, I was just gonna declutter Power Boost because it's a little bit warm and it's just not super flattering on my complexion, I feel, for my preference. But now that I'm looking at it, I feel like Power Boost is just a little bit too deep, and the one that I really love the most is Bright Side. So while I do love this formula, I just feel like it's a little bit wasteful for me to keep these 2 shades if I'm only going to be using this one. So I'm going to pass these 2 along to friends and family and someone that I just feel like is going to get a little bit more use out of them. A powder bronzer that I really love is this L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear 24-Hour Bronzer. I have mine in the shade 200 Fair. And this is just a really nice, smooth, creamy bronzer. L'Oreal does powders really well in my opinion, and I just love how silky this feels on the skin. It blends out really easily. It's just a really great, foolproof, velvety formula, so definitely gonna keep this one. A powder that I'm actually not the biggest fan of is this Silky Matte Bronzer from Milani. I know so many people love this formula, and I don't think it's a bad formula. I do like it. It's just not, it doesn't wow me, and I don't get excited whenever I wear it, and I just feel like my makeup never turns out perfectly for some reason whenever I wear this. I don't know if it's the tone or just the intensity, but I don't know, it's not as smooth as the L'Oreal bronzer, and it is pretty. Like, there's not like it's anything wrong with it. It's just not my favorite, and I just feel like someone else might get better use out of it. So this is tough. I might put this in my maybe pile because, again, I do like it, I just don't love it. So I don't know, maybe I'll hang on to it. I'll put it in my maybe pile for now. This is the Sun Sculpt Liquid Contour from Glam, and I have mine in the shade Soft Tan. Here it is swatched, and then I blended it out right here. So as you can see, this is a very cool toned contour. It's not even really a bronzer, it's more of a contour, definitely. This is not something that I reach for on an everyday basis, but there are special occasions when I'm doing a more dramatic look or a special type of a look, maybe something more avant-garde, where I do want to carve out my cheekbones super intensely and I do need a very gray or cool tone color. So for those occasions, I am going to keep this on hand. Definite keeps are these Flower Beauty Heatwave bronzers. These are the Luminous bronzers from Flower Beauty. These are probably one of my favorite bronzer formulas ever, and I like both of these shades for different reasons. This one is definitely more warm toned, this one is more cool toned. This is Sunswept and this one is Sunrise. So here is Sunswept and here's Sunrise. I'm going to keep them both, and I don't know if you can tell on camera, but they just have the most beautiful luminous finish, so they look super natural and healthy on the skin. I also love the marbled design. It's just so satisfying and beautiful to look at, so keeping. I don't know about you guys, but I really do not like cream products that come in these little pots because they just get so disgusting and messy. Like every time I open up one of these little pots, there's always like hair or brush furs or just random nastiness. So I don't know, it just grosses me out and does not want to make me put that on my face. Something about wet hair that is not appealing to me. So anyway, these are the e.l.f. putty bronzers. I am going to keep this, but I will say these are not my favorite bronzer. They're not bad. They're really good, actually. I do prefer the putty blushes. I just feel like they're a little bit easier to work with and they just dry down a little bit more. These ones almost feel creamier in a way, which sounds like a good thing, but I don't know. There's just something about it that makes me not reach for it. This is in the shade Tan Lines. Again, it's a really nice formula. It's smooth. It does dry down. It lasts well. It's pigmented. So I am going to keep it because I do like it. It's just not my favorite. And I can't really put my finger on why that is, but yeah, but I like it. So I'm going to keep. Okay, Ashley, can you be any more confusing? Okay, next I have this cream bronzer from Fenty. This is their Cheeks Out cream bronzer, and I have mine in the shade 02 Butter Biscuit. The name is so cute. Again, these little like pot palette creams always get so messy and they just look like, I don't know, it just looks so gross to me and I don't want to put it on my face. But aside from the unappealing appearance, I wanted to love this bronzer so much. I know so many people rave about this formula and it is nice. It's very creamy. It does blend nicely. I don't know, there's something about it that I don't love. It's almost like too dewy for me. I prefer creams that are more powdery, and I know that is like an oxymoron. It's like, if you want a cream, don't you want it to look super dewy? Not necessarily. I love creams, but I want them to stay in place, and I feel like when they're super dewy, they just fade really quickly, and they can also highlight pores or texture that I don't want highlighted. So yeah, I just feel like this one's too dewy for me, but it's not bad, and I think my sister-in-law would really enjoy this because she loves Rihanna and she loves Fenty Beauty, and I just think someone else would really, really love this. And it was expensive, so I don't want to like just have it sitting in my drawer if I just know that I'm not going to use it. I've forced myself to use this so many times. I've tried to love it and I just don't. So I have to be honest with myself. But if you do like very dewy, easy to blend emollient creams, I think you would really love this. It's not a bad product, it just doesn't suit my personal preferences. A keep is this primer infused bronzer from e.l.f. This powder is so underrated. I never hear anybody talking about this. It is so smooth. It like warms up as you're touching it, and it almost like melts onto your finger and onto your skin, and it's just so velvety. That's what I love in a powder. I love when it feels so velvety and creamy almost. So I love powdery creams and creamy powders. I make no sense at all, but you know, the heart wants what it wants. Love this one, and the shade is a bit darker, so I love using it in the summertime. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my NYX Wonder Stick. This is in the shade Fair. So what this is a two-sided cream product. You kind of twist it up like a lipstick, and you get a highlighter on one side and a bronzer or contour on the other side. And here it is, Swatch. This is the shade, again, Fair. It's very pigmented but easy to blend, and it lasts super long. I don't always reach for this highlighter just because I feel like the tone is a bit weird for a fair shade. It's kind of dark and almost a little bit gold. So I actually have another shade in this Wonder Stick. I think it's in the shade Universal Light, where the highlighter is actually lighter for some reason than the fair shade, and that's the one that I love and adore. And the bronzer, I do like that one too. It's a little bit warmer, so I actually keep that one in my highlighter drawer because I like the highlighter so much that that's what I usually use it for. But this one I prefer for the bronzer, so I'm gonna keep this one as well. So I thought I was done, but then I remembered that I had a bunch of bronzers in my everyday makeup bag and downstairs in my little makeup filming area. So I grabbed a bunch more. So we are not done yet. But this one is one that was in my everyday makeup bag. It is the Pacifica Sundreams Bronze. I don't know why they didn't put the but it's just bronze. And this is in the shade Sandy Kiss. It's probably one of the warmest tone bronzers I have in my collection, but I love this formula because it's so thin on the skin. It's pigmented but not too pigmented, so it doesn't look like an orange streak on your face. It dries down to more of that powdery finish, which you all know that I love. And you get so much stinking product in here, like you will never go through this. One weird thing to note about this is that you kind of have to warm it up if you haven't used it in a while, because it does get a little bit like grainy on the top. I don't know why. I guess it's just some of the ingredients hardening or separating, or I don't know, but it's not like it's gone bad. It just feels a little bit rough to the touch, which is weird. But once you start blending into the skin, that goes away and it no longer feels grainy. It does melt right in, so don't worry about that. It gives you like that warm sun-kissed look without looking orange or too much, because it is more sheer. So I really love this. I have heard a lot of people don't like it, and I can see why. I think the grainy texture can be a bit of a turnoff, but again, it doesn't translate on the face. It doesn't get patchy or anything like that. So I really like it, and I'm definitely going to be keeping it. Another really, sorry, my dog is drinking, if you can hear him lapping up his water. Another really warm bronzer I have is this one from LYS. This is their No Limits bronzer stick, and I have mine in the shade Motivate. First of all, I love the packaging. Mine is so disgusting. Give me a second to clean this. She could not have her debut looking like that. So it comes in the standard iconic triangular packaging that LYS products come in. And the reason why I love this bronzer is because it is so creamy. It's like butter. I barely am pressing and applying any pressure, and it just glides and melts onto the skin, but it blends out like a dream. So definitely gonna have to keep this one of my favorite formulas. A formula that is not my favorite is this Shape and Define Contour Stick from Catrice. It's kind of similar packaging to the NYX Wonder Stick in that it twists up like a lipstick, and it's double-sided, so you get the highlight and the contour. However, this highlight is not sparkly or shimmery like the NYX. The thing that I dislike about this product is just that it's so stiff. It is the complete opposite from the LYS bronzer stick, where that one is just so creamy creamy. It drags on the skin. I like the tone of this, but I just don't love the formula. I don't know, maybe I'll keep it because this tone is so good, but it's just so hard to blend. I'll put it in my maybe pile because I love the tone, don't really like the formula. It's kind of patchy, it picks up on itself, and actually now that I'm remembering as I'm blending this, forget it, I'm not even putting you in the maybe pile, I'm putting you in the declutter because there's no maybe about it. You just don't work for me. So sometimes you just have to know when to let it go, cut the ties, move on, girlfriend. We'll declutter her. Another one that I was super disappointed by was this Halo Glow contour wand. These are supposed to be dupes for the Charlotte Tilbury contour wands and highlight wands, you know the ones I'm talking about. But unfortunately, this one is patchy, it's hard to blend, it gets muddy on my skin, the tone is just a bit too gray, and I also do not like the applicator because, as you can see, it's like a hot mess. Like, she is throwing up all over herself, and it's just not cute. The Charlotte Tilbury had a twist lock so that the product wouldn't come spilling out. This one does not. So yeah, the tone is just way too gray. It is hard to use, it's messy. I think I'll save it for like a speed reviews video because this is a newer product to my collection, but I am going to be decluttering her. So e.l.f. always gets all the hype and hard candy gets left in the dust, but these face-off cream bronzers and blushes are stinking amazing, like so much better than the e.l.f. in my opinion, especially the blushes. Like, the blush in the face-off formula blows the e.l.f. out of the water. I don't love the bronzer as much as the blush, but I still think it's a really good formula. It is really thin on the skin, doesn't get patchy, blends out easily. I don't love the tone of this one as much, and it does have tiny little sparkles in it, so just something to beware. This is a little bit too warm on my skin, and the other one that they have is way warmer, so I don't love the shade range, but I do like the formula, and there are occasions when I really want to warm up my skin and I will reach for this, and it's so lightweight and tiny, like it's really great for travel, so I'm gonna keep this one. And this one was in the shade Sweet Tea. The last cream bronzer I have is from Cosmetics. This is their So Soft Bronzer Stick. I have mine in the shade Terra. This is definitely going to be a keep. I love this formula, specifically the shade. If you have very cool tone skin and you want a bronzer that is not orangey or warm tone, but it's also not gray, this is the perfect tone. It's like the perfect neutral cool tone brown that's not gray, not rosy, not warm. It's perfect and it blends effortlessly. It's very pigmented, so a little bit goes a long way. This stick will last you a really long time, even though it is expensive, and it does dry down to, again, that more powdery finish. So keeping. Last but not least, I have this pressed bronzer from Jacklyn Cosmetics. This is in the shade Skinny Dip. Okay, let's just take a moment for the packaging because the packaging is so luxurious, so extra. It's so beautiful. Like, I love it just for that. But aside from that, the formula is very good. And I actually bought this when it was on sale. I think it was like 50% off for Ulta's spring haul beauty event. And the reason why I picked it up is because the tone looked more rosy, and I do like to have rosy bronzers in my collection just for the winter months when I am more fair. I feel like they complement my skin tone a little bit better. It's not as rosy as I was hoping it to be. It's definitely still warmer, but I am going to keep it because, again, it's that creamy, velvety powder formula that I love. It blends really nicely. Reminds me a little bit of the e.l.f. primer infused bronzer, actually. So if you don't want to splurge on this, I would try the e.l.f. But because I have it and I do like it, I am going to keep it. So these are all the bronzers I'm going to be keeping. I'm keeping 13. And these are the bronzers that I'm going to be decluttering. I am decluttering 6. And this is my maybe pile. So I actually moved the e.l.f. putty bronzer in the She Glam contour to the maybe pile. So what I'm going to do is actually a trick I learned from someone who was decluttering their clothes. And what they do is, if they aren't really sure whether they want to keep something, they will put the clothes in a bag and just keep them stored somewhere for like a month or two, and if they miss them, they find themselves missing those pieces, they will put them back in their collection, or if they just don't ever need them, want them, they will declutter them. So I'm going to apply a similar concept to these products. I'm gonna put them away for a couple weeks, and if I find myself needing them, wanting them, then I'll put them back into my collection. But if I just never think about them, never want to use them, then I will give them away. I feel like that's better than just getting rid of them right away, because I'm not totally sure and I don't want to make a decision right on the spot. So I'm gonna do that. So yeah guys, that is my declutter. I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me until the end. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.